Hey trainers, a new Battle League Tournament Cup has just started in Pokemon Go player versus player. I just scrolled through the top 20 ranked characters by PvPoke there, and I recorded my first 5 matches in this new Kanto Cup. Now, the main rule of the Kanto Cup is first, the players have to be 1,500 or less, like the normal Great League. And then also, you can only use players that originally appeared as one of the first 151 Pokemon. And Hypno is going to be the main player here. So this was a really good matchup on the first set because I ended up going against a fighting type, and Psychic beats fighting. It's going to have super effective damage. And then Hypno, with its Confusion attack, is able to significantly farm down other players like Clefable. Clefable takes a really long time to charge. So I was able to just build energy on the Snorlax and then farm down the Clefable. So I was able to launch that Body Slam immediately when they threw out the Nidoking, and almost had another one charged up immediately. So we were able to hit the Nidoking pretty hard and then worked up to another Body Slam. Didn't work up too much of a sweat on that first battle. We were able to do it without using both of our shields and without using all 3 of our players. So things get a little bit closer, the matches get a bit harder as we move on. Of course, I'm hitting all folks who were ranked on the higher end of the Little Cup. They just carried our rankings over into this particular match. Came up against another Hitmonchan that was really fortunate, really nice, and so they had to swap out immediately. I didn't have a direct counter for the Lapras, but Snorlax is a pretty good bet against most things. I know that fighting types are the only thing that are super effective against Snorlax, so I figured I could throw the Snorlax here and use it to try and take down the Lapras, and that way I'm putting it into like high utility, and I'm using its talents in a way where I'm not going to get stuck with it against a fighting type like Hitmonchan. So of course they didn't want to lead back the Hitmonchan yet. They were able to make the switch after I swapped out my Hypno. So the tricky thing here is that Hypno is going to be weak to the Shadow Ball or Shadow Bone attack that they might have equipped to their Marowak. So I wanted to make sure that I had a shield left and that I had plenty of energy remaining to launch against that Marowak. So I let them go ahead and feint out my Poliwrath. That way, I could use Hypno to finish farming down the Hitmonchan, build up that energy, and have enough to actually launch multiple Psyshocks against the Marowak and end up pulling out a win in the end there. So that worked out favorably. I was pretty happy with the outcome. This one was a little more unusual. So Dragonair is actually rated a bit higher than Dragonite in this particular cup. Dragonite's actually a little bit glassy for the Great League, and so the stats on Dragonair are going to be a little more favorable. I decided to farm it down and just build up my energy for Psyshocks, and I was able to launch both of those attacks off, and I got a shield and then also did some damage there. Fire attacks were going to be weak against fire types, so I decided to wait in sending out the Marowak. I was able to farm them down with the Snorlax Lick attack and then launch off that Body Slam attack. I was even able to get a second one off. I was very pleasantly surprised about that one and forced them to use the shield. So Alolan Marowak, of course we're going to block this first attack, is super effective against their Alolan Ninetales. Also, I think it's really great that Alolan and Galarian variations of those original Kanto players can be used here. That's really an interesting adaptation to what I initially expected when I read that the Kanto League was going to be a thing. So in this case, I made a little bit of a riskier choice. I included a Hitmonchan myself, And the reason that felt risky is because it's so vulnerable to the lead meta, which is Hypno. Strangely, I had not come across a Hypno in my gameplay up to this point, and they didn't swap out their Snorlax when I used my Hitmonchan. So Hitmonchan was able to do super effective damage, and then I could just farm down their Snorlax the rest of the way. That also, while I was farming down the Snorlax, let me build up lots of energy, of course, for the Marowak, and its little Bone Club move, which seems like it would be insignificant on paper, can actually do a lot in whether it's baiting shields or whether it's doing super effective damage against little things. So Raichu takes a lot of damage, of course, from that Bone Club. Anything that's weak to Earth-type attacks. So they were basically done as soon as I threw the Hypno at their Venusaur. I had super effective offense with Confusion, and then I also had my Fire Punch move stored up. So that was going to end favorably, kind of regardless of what they did. And then we moved on to my last battle here. This was a really good match. The opponent had really strong Pokemon. So I'm happy that Hypno was able to do so much damage against that Haunter with each Confusion move, because Haunter is super effective against the Hypno. That was the first time somebody had like a specific counter for the Hypno in their back pocket. And Zapdos charges so quickly with the Drill Peck move. I was very lucky that I had enough health left to be able to launch off that Fire Punch and get their last shield. The Marowak, I knew I needed to be able to go for the big move, Shadow Ball, to try and feint out that Pokemon. And then I tried to farm down the Zapdos to the end, but it didn't work. But I did get them to use their energy. So my least effective Pokemon in that match, Hitmonchan, actually ended up pulling it out because my other Pokemon were able to farm it down enough. So I was very lucky to win the first 5 rounds in my first attempt at doing this Kanto League. I've been looking forward to doing the Kanto League for a long time. We saw some really interesting choices and strategies from other players, especially that last round with Shadow Zapdos. That was very close, very difficult. So I'm looking forward to other really great matches like that, and I hope that y'all have some great matches too. Please feel free to tell me about your strategies and your teams, things that are working for you, things that aren't working for you, and share those experiences with me in the comments.